Welcome to a realm where personal growth meets expansive spirituality and where we're not just scratching the surface. We're diving deep, widening our perspectives, and having a darn good time doing it. This is the Enlightened Podcast, and I am your host, Jen Hamilton. You'll enjoy an infusion of motivation, empowerment, and inspiration that will resonate in every aspect of your life. Expect captivating stories, heartfelt musings, and my own personal experiences. But that's not all. I'm bringing awe-inspiring individuals to the table, so get ready to meet some remarkable souls whose wisdom and stories will leave you spellbound. No topic is off limits here. Brace yourself for raw authenticity, unfiltered vulnerability, and yes, the occasional splash of explicit language. We're delving into the realms of the esoteric, mystical, and the woo-woo, unafraid to explore the extraordinary. So if you are ready to venture beyond the surface, to explore the depths of your soul, and to awaken the magic of life, if your heart says yes, then hit that play button and let the Enlightened Podcast guide you on this remarkable expedition. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to another episode of the Enlightened Podcast. I am your host, Jen, and I'm not just the host of this podcast. I am now an #1 international best-selling author. That's right. My ego and my head has completely expanded because the beautiful book that I co-authored with amazing other authors walking this planet, sharing all about the power of wild Eros, the power of pleasure. We did it. We made it to bestseller status on Amazon overnight after we released last week. So I just wanted to extend the biggest thank you to everybody that purchased a copy of the book, the digital download. The physical copy will be available in April 2024, so keep an eye out on my social media for that. Thank you so much to everyone that's messaged me and celebrated me and been in my corner throughout this whole process. And I want to share a little bit about the process because I think it's really important to let you know, I guess, how all of this came about, because I didn't share too much of this on social media. It kind of just popped up out of the blue. At one stage, I was like, oh, by the way, I've got this book coming out shortly. And I'm the type of person, I like to keep things fairly private until I know that I'm just about ready to hit the go button on things. I don't like to sort of give too much information away or build super momentum around things before they're way off coming to fruition. I kind of like doing things in the background and then being like, bang, okay, cool, let's get ready to go. So with this project, so it started last year. I think it was around September. It was the school holidays. I remember being at the beach with my two beautiful children, and I was connected with Tarsh, who is my amazing publisher from Ashwin Publishing. And she reached out to me. We had a mutual connection who said, hey, look, you might be interested in speaking to Tarsh. She's organizing this co-authored book. And as soon as I connected with her, we just vibed. We just hit it off. We'd had so many similar experiences. We'd both worked with plant medicine before. We had this sort of this whole sisterhood thing going on. And the whole process that went into writing, to become a published author, it was a journey. And I feel as though in my line of work, as a coach, as a speaker, as a facilitator, to become a published author is a rite of passage. And we had this beautiful coaching container essentially as part of becoming an author and writing this book, where all the authors had the opportunity to work directly with Tarsh in this group environment to learn not only how to write, we all had an idea how to write what we wanted to write, but how to bring forward what it is that was truly deeply aligned with our message. What is it that our chapter had to bring to life in order to inspire or support other people in the journey that they're going through. So my chapter is called The Death of the Good Girl and the Birth of the Sacred Rebel. And I really had to dive deep when I was mapping out the way in which I wanted my chapter to unfold. And I remember Tarsh saying this really incredible thing, that where it stings, where you don't want to write about, where you feel it's too out there or too vulnerable or too racy or whatever the story is that you're telling yourself, you need to go there. you need to dive into that, provided you've done a lot of healing around it and you're open to sharing your story and you can, hold yourself in it and it's not still, a mess essentially. As long as you come out the other side of that and you can speak into it comfortably, then that is your message. That's what you get to bring to life. And it's really funny when we released the book last week, I went back through my initial notes of what it is that I wanted to write about. And initially it was so different. And I remember every time I sat down to write, so whether I was doing an automatic writing task or whether I was putting together pieces of my chapter, I would set a beautiful ceremony space. So I would, sit with cacao or with hape or put on some really beautiful music and burn some sage or have essential oils on. Sometimes I would use oracle cards or tarot cards to provide some information and some inspiration for me. So I really made writing a ceremonial space, and I really just allowed myself to go inwards and go deep and really connect with what it is that wanted to move through me. It wasn't all just in my head. Everything was written from my heart. Everything was written from deep from my soul to share the message that ultimately I wanted to share with everybody. And I don't want to give too much away because obviously I want you to go and buy the book. I want you to read the chapter. I want you to read everyone's chapter just because they're so different and they're so inspiring and they're so mind opening and heart opening. And it's just so juicy. Like, we've had so much incredible feedback from people all around the world. And it's kind of mind blowing, the fact that we went bestseller. So most of the authors are based in Australia, and we hit the US market first for #1 bestseller. And it's funny because most of our audiences are in Australia. So even though, we can ask as many people as we possibly can on the day to go and purchase a copy, the fact that this was around the world, in Canada and the US, and it was hitting #1 bestseller overnight, and that's not even where our audiences are, speaks into the fact that people are looking for this. And this was in multiple categories. So it was not only under a huge category of personal development, but also under gender and sexual studies. And I think sexual well-being was the other one. So there was a few different categories that we had essentially entered the book into through Amazon. And we absolutely knocked it out of the park, numbers wise and statistic wise in those categories, which honestly just felt amazing. And it felt as though the messages that were coming through these pages from each one of the authors has come to life. And I really found myself, in the days afterwards, just really reflecting on the whole process and allowing all the emotions to be there. I got very emotional when I found out, that we'd hit bestseller, because obviously you get such a high from it. It's such an achievement for it. But also, like, the whole process, it was like a birthing process. And I always, throughout the whole experience, I referred to Tarsh as my midwife. She would hold my hand as I was getting ready to push, or, going through the labor pains. And, we had this collective birthing experience, all of the authors together. And it's like, the book's been out for 6 days now. And it's like, we're still just like in this little bubble of love, like all just like nursing our babies and sharing our stories of what the feedback is. And it's really, really beautiful. And it's definitely inspired me to keep writing as well. There are multiple books that I have in mind that I want to create and bring to life. And for me now, it's about finding the time to sit down and write. But I know also the process in which I went through to sit down and write and share my story, and what I had to do to go deeply inwards. That's like a core memory now. That's something that I've got within me. And, to be able to bring more of this to life is just so exciting. So there's definitely going to be more books. There's going to be so much more. And I'm so excited for this. And I guess what I wanted to make this solo snippet about today was the reminder that you can do anything that you desire, that you put your mind to. And it's not necessarily about having to do it all on your own either. I don't think I could have done this in the way that I did this without doing it in a group environment, without such a supportive publisher that not only coached, but also just held space individually for each of the authors as well. I'm actually going to interview Tarsh on this podcast and listen to her speak. Oh my gosh, read her stuff, like follow her on Instagram, on Facebook, like wherever you can sink your teeth into Tasha's work, and even the other, like she's done, I think, a total of 6 books now that she's facilitated and published the co-authoring of. She's an incredible writer, an incredible soul, and I'm definitely going to be interviewing her here so that you can just soak up the deliciousness that she is. And so what I wanted to circle back with was, the message around you don't have to do things alone. I could have put myself out there. I could have written a book all on my own, gone to publishers, had conversations, had the rejection, been knocked back. But I chose to enter into a space where I knew I was so held and supported and encouraged the whole way, because that's what provided me with ease and grace to just flow. And there's so many times, like I know so many people that have written books and they've taken them to publishers and they've been knocked back and they're trying to get book deals, and that's all well and good to do. You can self-publish books, you can go through publishers, you can go through, big places, little places, all sorts of things. But when you're in an environment where you are so held, supported, and guaranteed a publisher, honestly, it's an incredible way of stepping into the space as an author. And I'm still pinching myself that not only am I a published author, but also an international #1 best-selling one as well. And I'm going to own it. I'm going to wear it. I'm going to celebrate it. I'm going to use it everywhere. So I guess, the message is, you can do anything. You absolutely can do anything. If you've listened to any of my stuff, you should know by now that I'm all about that. Get out of your own way. If need support with working through belief systems, I'm a coach, you know where to find me. But asking for help, doing it in a group environment, receiving support. You can call things in all you want. You can be like, I want to call this in. I want to call that in. I want to manifest this. I desire that. But unless you call out, no one can hear you. So this is your reminder to call out. If you need support, call out for it, ask around, check in with other people for inspiration, and ask if someone knows someone that can help you for what it is that you're looking for. Anyway, I don't want this to go on too long. I just wanted to share in the absolute excitement, give you a little bit of an insight as to how things came about with this book. And again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to everyone who purchased a copy of the book, who celebrated with me, who's messaged me personally to congratulate me and acknowledge what they got out of the chapter that I wrote as well. That always means a lot to me. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlightened podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is Enlightened_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightened, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.